All right, what is going on, guys? So in today's video, I'm going to be comparing the M1 Pro 14-inch to the newly released M2 Pro 14-inch. And for people who have been subscribed or watched the channel for a while, you'll know that this is my OG setup. The reason being is because this is just a lot easier to do a comparison video on my original setup rather than in my kitchen. And I do want to give a shout out to everyone who has subscribed as of late. I've gotten over 1,000 subs in the past month, so really do appreciate all the support you guys are showing me. And because of that, we have a new sponsor on the channel. Just kidding, it's still nobody. Now, I wanted to script out this whole video and do a proper comparison video, but to be honest, I really don't want to waste your guys' time because it's not like this is anything that is overly revolutionary compared to the M1 Pro 14-inch. And I think that's just because of the way Apple likes to do things. If you've noticed with MacBooks, MacBooks don't really change year to year. I mean, if you think about it, the MacBook design has been pretty much the same for the past, I don't even know, over 10 years. The chassis, the keyboard, pretty much everything is identical. For example, if I were to go back in time and give you this laptop and compare it to the MacBook Pro 2013, you would say things like, oh, it's a tad bit bigger, touchpad's bigger, display looks good, but overall, looks pretty much the same. And I would say that's pretty much what the M2 is. And this can be a double-edged sword for Apple because on one hand, all they really have to do is just make the performance improvement better than the last generation and add a few bells and whistles here and there. But the other side of the sword can say, well, the design really doesn't change, so I don't really know if I'm buying a newer machine. I think I am okay with that simply because Apple really likes to spend a lot of time in making sure that everything is perfect. So in terms of the design language, they are pretty much identical. The display, trackpad, keyboard, even down to the ports. Now, there is HDMI 2.1 versus 2.0. So if you are trying to push resolutions higher at higher refresh rates, the M2 Pro is going to be the machine for you. There's also Bluetooth 5.3 and Wi-Fi 6E. Now, I've already made my statement on Wi-Fi 6E. I understand a lot of people are showing you a lot of high speeds. However, once again, if you don't have a gigabit and if you don't have a Wi-Fi 6E router and if you don't have a good layout of your network where you live, Wi-Fi 6E is pretty useless. You're pretty much just going to drop down to Wi-Fi 6. And yes, I do have Wi-Fi 6E router. Now, with that out the way, let's talk about performance because that's what you guys came here for, and then I'll do my other, regular comparisons at the tail end of the video. So when it comes to performance, yes, the M2 Pro has on paper and also in real life experience about 20% more improvement than the M1 Pro. And then in terms of the graphics department, when I was doing some Blender rendering, it is a significant improvement. I'd say almost double because Apple is quoting around 30 to 40%, but I've seen a lot of improvement when it comes to the graphics department on the M2 Pro. With that being said, once again, this is laptops for professionals, and I do believe Apple, when they released the M series, have really pushed the M series in the Pro lineup to really be marketed for professionals. I say that because I would say from the 2010s era, you could get away with buying a MacBook Pro for your child to go off to college. But with these laptops starting at $2,000 and being quite literally workstation replacements, I would say that these laptops for college students is probably going to be overkill. However, in the long term, it's probably going to last them a while. I would definitely argue that you should probably pick a MacBook Air for them, but I will have a buyer's guide out in the next couple of days. So once again, performance, I could show you benchmarks, I can show you tons of real world applications, but trust me, the M2 Pro is a better performer than the M1 Pro. All right, so that's what I'm going to say in a consumer sense for performance. Trust me, if you're watching my video, chances are you've already watched other channels who have compared these two laptops with proper benchmarks that you can see for yourself. I don't want to spend my time on the video on that. I just want to give you guys more of a general use case for how these laptops are compared against one another. So once again, going back to the ports, we have an SD card slot, 3 Thunderbolt ports, a headphone jack, and then HDMI 2.0 on the M1 Pro, and then HDMI 2.1 on the M2 Pro. Moving on to the trackpad and keyboard, you will see that once again, nearly identical. I mean, it's probably splitting hairs if it's going to be like 0.01 millimeter difference, but trackpads are the same, keyboards are the same. If you're trying to figure out which one is which, this one is M2, this one is M1. If you are curious about the color difference, this one is also silver, this one is space gray. If I had to give a preference on which one I prefer, I kind of prefer the space gray. I always liked the classy finish of the silver, but it seems as though as time has gone on, I kind of want a little bit of a darker machine with the space gray. Other than that, let's talk about the camera, speakers, and microphone. Now, in terms of the speakers, I would say from my own experience, I actually prefer the speakers on the M2 Pro. They aren't as punchy as the M1 Pro, but I would say in terms of balance and clarity, I prefer the M2 Pro 14-inch. With the microphone, they sound pretty much identical, and then the camera, I would also say there's been slight improvements on the M2 Pro. Take a listen. So this is the camera and microphone test on the M2 Pro 14-inch. I'm in a natural lit environment, so the sun is to your guys' right, hitting me from this angle, so you guys can tell me how it looks and sounds. In terms of how it looks, I would say it looks really good compared to most laptops, but compared to the M1 Pro, I would say they're pretty close. Like, you're gonna be cutting some fine hairs in order to see the difference, but you guys can see for yourself. All right, this is the camera and microphone test on the M1 Pro 14-inch. You guys can tell me how it looks and sounds. I will say this looks just a slightly bit blurry than the M2 Pro 14-inch, but once again, you're gonna be shrunken down to a box in your video call or FaceTime, and chances are it's not going to look too bad. But if we're doing a comparison and I had to get a rating, the M2 Pro 14-inch has a better camera, but this one looks completely fine to me. All right, so I'm going to cut this into the video because I completely forgot to talk about battery life. But battery life for me has been exactly the same. I haven't noticed any difference across the two, even though there are more efficiency cores in the M2 Pro 14-inch. However, if you're doing like day-to-day tasks, doing stuff in the web browser, you're not doing heavy loads, I would say I've gotten about an extra 30 minutes to an hour on the M2 Pro due to those efficiency cores. But I have seen some comments about people saying just use your M2 Pro in low power mode and you're going to get the same performance as M1 with longer battery life. Now, you're not wrong. However, I would say I'm a person who almost never uses low battery mode because I don't notice that big of a difference, but low battery mode, I really don't understand why you would buy the M2 Pro for its performance, but just voluntarily handicap yourself simply for the fact of battery life. If you don't need the power, just get the M1 Pro. There really is no reason of just running your computer all the time in low battery mode. That's like buying a car and just always running it in eco mode, which no offense to anyone who does that, but it's like, why are you really buying that machine? Or why are you really buying that car? You might as well just go buy an actual economic car that does that on a day-to-day basis, right? And save yourself some money. So in terms of battery life, hard workloads, gonna be identical, but everyday lightweight task, M2 Pro is gonna be the way to go. Don't buy this simply for the fact of running this in low battery mode just to match the performance on this. It's not worth it. Just pick this guy up. All right, next up, display. Once again, they are exactly the same. So we still have that ProMotion of 120 Hertz that we do not have on the MacBook Air. We have basically an HDR display with mini LEDs being backlit. And we still have this notch up here. Unfortunately, there is no Face ID. Not that big of a deal breaker because Touch ID works extremely fast. Other than that, the displays, once again, exactly the same. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but just know that these displays, you will not be disappointed with them. Okay, now, what do I want to talk about next? So one topic I know you guys want me to talk about is this whole SSD gate thing with the slower read and write speeds on the base model M2 Pro 14-inch, whereas the M1 Pro 14-inch has that full read and write speeds of like 6,000, 5,000 read and write. And I've already made videos on this, and in my final conclusion, I will say once again on what I said in my original video is that for the Pro, it shouldn't be any type of hindrance. I know people are saying there is some type of chip shortage. I would play devil's advocate and say that we're probably in a chip surplus right now. But I don't have that data. That's just my own belief. Regardless, in terms of day-to-day applications, I don't think a lot of people are going to notice. However, for the Pro models, really don't think Apple should handicap it in any way, shape, or form. Regardless though, if you are transferring like 100, 200 gigs on your machine, I don't even think the difference is going to be that big of a difference, mainly because it's only going to be probably like 30 seconds to up to a minute difference. And at that time, if you're transferring files that big, you're probably doing something else while it's being transferred. So don't think it's that big of an issue. However, if you do want those full read and write speeds on the M2 Pro, you're gonna have to upgrade to the 1 terabyte model. All right, so if you just skipped to this part of the video because you looked at the chapter names and saw which one should you buy, subscribe. But should you get a used or refurbished M1 Pro 14-inch, or should you get the new shiny kid on the block with a train going by it, the M2 Pro 14-inch? My recommendation is this. No matter what you want, no matter what you need, your wallet is always going to give you your final decision. What are you willing to pay in terms of what you want? That's the first thing. If you want the M2 Pro 14-inch and you can afford it, by all means, no one's gonna stop you. It is a fantastic machine, and I would say it's a better machine in every way, shape, and form over its predecessor. There's no real reason why Apple would make a worse machine than the previous generation unless they wanted to just, I don't know, make butterfly keyboards for some reason. And here's one thing you guys have to keep in mind. This is a refresh. So that pretty much means there were minor improvements, but overall it's the same machine. So if you are willing to compromise on a performance SID, even though the performance SID is still faster than most laptops that are on the market for the same price, and the package that you get with the speakers, the display, the microphone, everything, the battery life as well, the used or refurbished M1 Pro 14-inch is, in my opinion, probably the best value pro level machine that you can get. Simply because I feel as though at this price point, I think it's around $1,600, even sometime as low as $1,500. That's $500 cheaper than the base M2 Pro 14-inch. And trust me, I love money in my wallet or in my bank account. So if I had to make a personal decision, like if I didn't have a YouTube channel or anything, actually, even if I had a YouTube channel, which I do, I would still pick up a refurbished M1 Pro 14-inch. Now, if you have a Costco membership, or I believe even a Sam's Club membership, you can get this brand new for like $1,600. But regardless, I really do believe that a used or refurbished M1 Pro 14-inch is the way to go. You can probably even push your budget a little bit and get a 16-inch used or refurbished M1 MacBook Pro instead of the base level 14-inch, but do keep in mind that you're going to sacrifice some portability and you're getting a much larger machine. But trust me, that 16-inch is a beast, and chances are you're probably not going to want another laptop once you get that. So in terms of recommendations, that is what I would advise. This one is for value, but if you want the M2 Pro, if you want the new kid on the block, by all means, get the M2 Pro 14-inch. So the spin on this section as well is who should buy this machine, or who is this product for? These MacBook Pros, I would say, are for people who have held out on their MacBook Pro or even MacBook Air that have the Intel-based machines. You were probably waiting to see how the M series shook out, and because you weren't ready to make that jump yet, or you just wanted to see how much longer your laptop could last, and it lasted you another year. And here we are with M2. Now, you can upgrade it to M2, but watching all these comparison videos and how highly these laptops are talked about, you even might be swayed to go over to the M1 Pro 14-inch just because of its deep discount right now. And if you want to help out the channel, there are affiliate links down below. But regardless, trust me, I know I'm on this side of the table a lot, but trust me, this M1 Pro 14-inch is just as good as this M2 Pro 14-inch. If you don't care about the slight performance improvement, I say slight, looking like that because it is slight, but 20-30% is really good. What was I gonna say? Oh, if you don't care about the performance, HDMI 2.1, the Bluetooth 5.3, the Wi-Fi 6E, trust me, this thing will make you a happy person, and then you can spend that extra 400, 500 bucks on something else. Enjoy life, go travel, do something, eat good food. I don't know. All right, let me know what you guys think of this comparison. I try to give you guys more of a experience of the difference between the two rather than hardcore spec sheet comparisons, because trust me, those are plentiful on the platform if you want to watch them. But I just try to share some experiences on how I feel about both these machines. And once again, it's a refresh model, so it's really not that much different than the last one. It's just slightly better. All right, guys, with that being said, hopefully you guys found this video informative. I appreciate every single sub, like, and comment. Let me know what you guys think of this setup if you're new to the channel. And as always, guys, much love. Oh, I got the wallpaper from Apple, screensaver. Oh, I forgot to mention, in terms of color, I already talked about color, I'm leaving. All right, what is going on, guys? So in today's video, I'm going to be comparing the 14-inch. How am I gonna say this? All right, what is going on, guys? So in today's video, I'm going to be carrying